1, 2, 3.
We heard you, Mike. We're going to get ready to get started here in just about a minute. All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the November meeting of the Orlando Amateur Radio Club. If everybody will stand, face the flag over on the, what would be your left, we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, and justice for all. All right. All right, real quick, just want to go around real quick and introduce the board members that are here. For anybody that's new, so everybody knows who everybody is. My name is John Knott. My call sign is N4JTK. I'm the president of Orlando Amateur Radio Club, emergency coordinator for Orange County Aries. One of the amateur radio coordinators, along with Michael, for the Tour de Cure, which is coming up in March, and whatever else that's on my hat for the year. So that's me, Michael. You want to stand real quick? Then I can do the rest of them since you're up front.
All right. Everybody hear me? All right. Michael Cawley, W4ORL, Vice President of the club, General Chairman for Orlando Hymcation, and that's it.
All right. Anna is over on the side here taking everybody's money for dues and Christmas party tickets. Bob is right there also. Bob Nacero is our secretary. Dean Groh is one of our directors, sitting right there next to Anna. Ed is one of our directors. Let me go down the list because that's James Dool. James is way in the back. And then Frank Gerkes is not here. Bob Cumming is not here because he's going on the cruise. And yeah, he's always going on cruises. Frank T. No, Frank Tagalani's not here yet. He usually pops up later. So if you have any questions for any of the board members, please feel free to always reach out to them. That's what we're here for, is to help you guys out. All right. Any guests tonight? Anybody that's first time attending, not a member? All right, let me go around to the room. We're just going to have you introduce yourselves real quick.
Hi, Steve LaFave, KK4 TWE, just moved to the Orlando area, so my first meeting here.
We welcome you. Let me go around the other side, make it easy.
Hi, I'm Mike, KQ4LTY from Kissimmee, just starting out in technician.
Awesome, welcome. All right. I don't know. Does anybody, Ed, do you know how many people passed tonight? Ooh, 0 to hero. Okay. Excellent. Congratulations. If anybody is here, congratulations. 0 to hero. It's always interesting to hear about the 0 to heroes. Yep. All right. Just a couple of things real quick. I'm going to kind of do this briefly tonight because I want to make sure that Mike has enough time for what he needs to present tonight. And then also, several of us are going to be leaving out tomorrow to head to Stone Mountain Hamfest in Stone Mountain, Georgia. So, and we still got a lot of packing to do and stuff, get ready for it. So I'd like to try to get here a little bit earlier tonight if possible. But anyways, just a reminder that tonight is the last night that you can purchase Christmas dinner tickets. That's going to be coming up next month in person. The link that we sent out on email is still going to be valid until about the middle of November. Okay. Although you just have to, come down to the dinner location and we'll make sure that you get your tickets when you walk in there. We don't sell tickets at the door because we need to have a count on how many people are coming for the caterer. Okay. The last thing we want is anybody not to have food. So we want to make sure we have plenty of food available for everybody. So that's why we cut it off about the middle of November for anybody that needs to still purchase tickets. So make sure you see Anna for tickets if you haven't purchased them yet and you do plan on coming, but it's going to be December the 2nd, which is the first Saturday of December. Doors open at 6 p.m. It's at the Knights of Columbus, which has been our location for many years now. And the location is 5727 Cornelia Avenue. It's in East Orlando, just on the other side of Baldwin Park. We do a Toys for Tots collection. So we do ask that everybody bring just a small unwrapped Toys for Tots. And then if you have a favorite dessert that you like to share everybody, we have 3 large, wonderful dessert tables, usually always full of desserts. Okay. There's plenty of food and plenty of desserts. You will not go away hungry, that's for sure. So again, that's coming up December the 2nd. And because of the Christmas party, we will not have a meeting that month of December. Okay. We do come back in January, as we discussed last month. And then in February, we will not have a meeting in February because that's the week of Hamcation. There's a lot going on that week, obviously. In its place, if you do want to come out, there is a kit build that Joe Eisenberg is going to be putting on K0NAB on the Wednesday night of Hamcation at the fairgrounds in the Swaps building. If you go to the website, hamcation.com, under event info at the top and affiliate events, it will take you where you can sign up for the kit build. Okay. There's roughly 25 or 30 kits. So if you want to build a kit, please register. You don't have to register if you just want to attend it, but not build a kit. And watch and see how it's done and learn just from being there. But if you definitely want to build a kit, please make sure you register, okay? And it usually fills up. I don't think we've had but a couple of empty seats, maybe, each year that we've done this. So also coming up this weekend, along with the Stone Mountain Ham Fest up in Georgia, is the Shriners Tailgate coming up this weekend at the Shrine 3101 East Highway 436 in Apopka. There's, I think, some flyers up there. Please come out and support them. And I'm pretty sure you want to probably talk about some really great prizes. If you want to come up real quick, we'll do that real quick now. Come on up, Rod.
Thank you. I'm Rod, W4VVK, and the tailgate's at, if you're familiar with the west part of 436, it's towards the Apopka, just beyond Hunts Club Road if you're going westbound, right by the McDonald's. Turn in at McDonald's, and we're right next to it. If you're coming from the Apopka area, we're just this side of Piedmont with Kiva Road, I think one traffic light. Anyway, it starts at 8 o'clock in the morning. We look forward to having it. The weather forecast says good, maybe some rain late in the afternoon, but we'll be long gone by then. So we should have good weather. Should be a nice event. Appreciate you all coming out. Thank you. $5, $7 if you're going to tailgate. And come on out. We usually have a lot of people with their trunks open, but we need people there that want to look in them and take stuff out of them. So, yeah, there's some good deals out there. So we'll see you all Saturday morning. Thank you.
Yep. Excellent. Please come out and support them if you're going to be in town and available Saturday morning. I know last year, I think it rained Saturday morning earlier. So this year looks like it's going to be great weather. So it's probably going to be a good turnout. All right, Michael. Hamcation update. All right, some little event that everybody wants to have in February.
All right. So We've been full steam on Hamcation. It's coming up quick. We are still in need of volunteers, so please go to the website, sign up to volunteer. I know security needs a lot, ticketing needs some. I believe RV still needs a few for certain days out there also. Tailgate, hospitality. I do know IT still in need of some help, so if you have an IT background, Jacob's still looking for some people there. If you volunteer 4 hours, you do get a free Hamcation ticket. And then if you volunteer all day, we do feed you also. I don't think that'll work. Oh, yeah, and I can do this real quick. Let me share my screen real quick. I am jumping way ahead here, but everybody can mark their calendars because we have already planned. I hit the screen. I'm trying to share.
You might need to read it. It's okay.
I'll read it. All right. Hamcation Appreciation Picnic has been scheduled already. It will be April 27th, 2024, 1 p.m. We will be back at Bill Frederick Park at Turkey Lake. But there is one change. We will be at a different pavilion this year. So we will actually be at what's called Pavilion 1 and 2, which is bigger parking area. So more information will come on email. I'll start putting it in the newsletter with Ed starting next month also. And they will be, if you want to RSVP, please send an email to picnic@oarc.org by April 1. I will also put this up on the OARC website so y'all can RSVP there. I know it's way in advance right now, but we put it out there early. Plus, we can pass the word more at Hamcation when people volunteer about the picnic. So hopefully we have a good turnout this year. Usually we have 100 plus people at the picnic every year. So, but what's nice with the new pavilion, I think it will hold like 140, 150 at it. Between the two pavilions, they're literally 5 foot apart. But a lot more parking over there also, which is nice. That's it. It's going to be April 27th.
It's a Saturday, and we do this stuff early, guys, because the pavilions are booked well in advance. So, in fact, that was the last available weekend to even do. We're trying to do it in early April, I think it was, right, and stuff, March. But all that's booked and stuff already. So I know it's kind of early, but we'd like for you to put that on your calendar so you can plan on attending. Not only is it a Hamcation volunteer appreciation picnic, but it's also an appreciation picnic for the membership. So even members, are more than welcome to come out for that event. And we always have some great door prizes. We kind of gave away a lot of door prizes last year. Oh, everybody went home with something last year, and there was 100 some people there last year. So. Yeah. So it's a good opportunity to come out and, feel appreciated. And all those prizes are donated by our vendors and stuff because the vendors know what it takes to put on a ham fest. They appreciate it and they show their appreciation very well. So look forward to seeing everybody there at the at the picnic. Real quick, something I want to discuss real quick that we don't normally discuss here at OARC because it's not something that it's more falls under the Aries umbrella, if you will. But I think a lot of you guys might already know this. But just in case, have you guys been following what the weather predictions are supposed to be like next year? And we're talking spring of next year. How many lived here in 2015 or 16? 2007, 99 or 1998. Does that bring back some memories? Okay. If you guys remember, Kissimmee got hit, Winter Garden got hit. I think Sanford got hit by some pretty devastating tornadoes in 98. 2007, I think it was. Well, Sanford did too, but up there in Lake County, Paisley got hit. 2006, 15 or 16, I believe we had some tremendous amount of rain, flooding and stuff. All that is all based off of El Nino. I'm probably not saying it. El Nino. Not quite saying it right, but anyways, make sure you pay attention to this because as amateur radio operators, something you guys might want to pay attention to with the weather coming up the way it's going to be. And they're predicting this March, April, and May. That doesn't mean it can be earlier. Okay. It can always start earlier. Let's not talk around month of February, but it's just some things you might want to pay attention to and be aware, be weather aware of it. They haven't put a whole lot of discussion out on publicly about this, unless you follow the National Weather Service and go to their website and look at the ENSO forecast. If you do that, then you probably have learned something already and well aware of it. But it's all based off the waters out in the Pacific, warmer than normal, and even this year higher than normal, that they're predicting that it's supposed to be in our area in next spring. Storminess is supposed to be higher, above average. The amount of rain we're supposed to get is probably well above average, and it's supposed to be cooler than normal. Okay. So basically meaning that cold air coming down from the north, hitting this warm air that's usually over Florida and spinning up some big storms. So please make sure you start paying attention to that. We'll probably talk about a little more later after the first of the year. But, for those of you who didn't know, but try to know what's going on and stuff with that. Real quick, I just want to go around to the board. We'll go to clubs quickly afterwards. We'll do our break, and then we'll come back to the presentation, okay? Michael, do you have anything else? Anna, Dean, Bob, Ed, James? Thank you. I forgot to write that down. How many guys are on D-Star? Oh, come on, don't be shy. Put your hands up, guys. Okay. So if you might notice, 37 Charlie is down at the moment. Apparently the data center that our node is hosted at had a catastrophic failure this morning that they're trying to fix. Okay. There is no ETA when it's going to come back up. We are well aware it's obviously down, and we'll know when it comes back up, and we'll put the word out when it comes back up. But if you try to go to 37 Charlie and can't raise the reflector, that's the reason why. The repeater's there. It's just you're not going to be able to get into the reflector to talk, across the country or wherever you might want to talk to normally. So just be aware of that. And as soon as it comes back, we'll put it out on email that it is back up and running again. So it's a known thing. No need to send us, multiple emails and stuff. So, but thanks, James, watches over that stuff very closely. And as soon as it gets back up and running, he'll let us know. We'll get an email out to everybody. It could be as early as tomorrow. Probably not. It could be next week. It might be longer down the road. We don't know. No ETA. All right. Did I miss any other board members? I think Frank were not here. And Bob's not obviously here. He's somewhere thinking about a trip on a boat. All right. Club updates. Michael. Bobbin, CFRA.
All right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Test 1, 2. I can. That's why. Okay. I'm Bob W4KBW, president of the Central Florida Repeater Association. It's a small group. If we've got 20 members, it's a lot. We meet on the last Wednesday of each month at Perkins at the corner of University and Forsyth in Winter Park. Get there about 6 o'clock. We've got the back room to ourselves. You start eating your own food. I don't pay for it. You do. 7 o'clock, we have
We try every month.
meeting about 5-10 minutes tops, and we have a little rag tour after that, and we go home. Repeater is downtown Orlando, Colonial and I-4, about 250 feet up. It's 443075, standard 1035 PL. It's analog and fusion. Dues are $12 per calendar year. If your husband or wife, it's family members, $18 for the both. That's all I got.
Okay. We try to pass our bills off to Bill or to Bob every month, but he realizes it still. So we end up having to pay. QCAWA, anything new, important, or what? Ooh. Excellent. Lamar's. Oh, there's
Thank
Jim.
you. Hi, Jim Robar, KB2CUX. We'll meet tomorrow night. Same time as here, 7:30. And tomorrow is primarily our voting for officers and board members.
Go a little closer. So the AC just popped on.
We're good?
More gooder.
We're good. Okay. But we're at 400 North Edgemont. We are one block west of the police station in Winter Springs, if you look for it on a map and all that. So, and this, I don't, Joe, are you going to say anything about, okay, I'll leave that go then. Okay. See you all tomorrow.
All right. Cert Ham Radio Group. Clark Kona Cert. Nothing. Radio Scouting. He's coming. He's coming up to front. I know he has something big to report.
Not yet. Well, I want to thank Larry, our helper, and all of our other helpers. So we had just under 8,000 kids this entire month, and over 100 of them got on the radio, which I want to thank everybody for getting on the repeaters and talking to them. We actually used the Lake County repeater quite a bit. So that's it. We're still working to fundraise for our STEM building. We're hoping to have at least 30 donations by the end of the year. That will help us on taxes. And then we're still working on other stuff. Next big event will be Hamcation, and we'll have up to 20 scouts doing a radio merit badge. And if all the numbers are normal, we'll have about 3 or 4 of those get licensed.
Excellent. You said 8,000?
Just under 8,000.
And how many on radio?
We had almost 400 merit badges this year, and we have 20 licensed scouts this year.
I mean, how many? You said we're all 8,000 got on the radio?
No.
Oh.
About 100.
About 100? Okay. It's not bad. Big round of applause for you getting that done. That's an undertaking. 8,000 kids over a month period. All right, next up, week signal. Anything new? Exciting? Excellent.
Just
All
real
right.
quick, also on that topic, we got an email asking the location of the beacons. It's very close to downtown Orlando. So pretty much anybody in Orlando can hit them. So just to let everybody know, the beacons are located very close to downtown Orlando.
Yeah, it's only about a mile and a half from here, by the way the crow flies, maybe, if that. So, all right, AMSAT, Deers, Lara, Similarities. Come on up, Mike.
Mike Bannigan's KJ4 UDO, Seminole County Aries Races. We've got a bike event coming up on the 12th of November. If anyone's interested, come out to our website, check that out. And then we're also kicking off some training sessions on the ICS training. We got another intro class in November here that we meet on the third Thursday of the month. And then starting next year, we've got 2 sessions on a Saturday to turn around and go through the ICS basic courses. Thank you.
All right. Auxiliaries. Okay. Okay. Yeah, you guys, I'm just telling you, for those of you who lived here, you know, those of you guys have not been here very long, get yourself educated on this. Only because it's kind of like a hurricane season. If you haven't been here and been through a hurricane season, you don't know what to expect. All right. So it's a good time. This is also one of those years, something very similar happened. Storm of the century. I think it was back in 92, 93, 94, something like that there. We had Altamont Springs it hailed so much, it looked like it was snow piled up everywhere in Altamont Springs and northern part of Orlando. So, and there was softball size hail coming down in Lockhart. My uncle lives there. So just again, be aware of what's going on. Orange County Aries is going to have their meeting come up this coming Thursday, not tomorrow night, but the next Thursday night. It's at the EOC. I'm sorry, I don't recall what our program is that night. If you're interested, please just send me an email. I'll send you the location of it and what the topic is when you send me the email. But again, like I said, I'm not sure. Joe, you want to come up? Joe sent late breaking news today.
Hey everyone, Joe, KQ4 AID. We had our last ham in the park, October 21st. We did a tape measure Yagi build. Thank you to Jim for everything he did for that, and also Rich. Thanks for everyone that did come out. As far as hams in the park go, we will not have a gathering in November or December due to the holidays and to the various Christmas parties and all. But November 11th, Lamar's Club is going to have a fox hunt for those that built the tape measure Yagi. Also, the email I sent out this week had a link to instructions on how to build your own at home if you want to. You're more than welcome to build a tape measure Yagi. Come out and join us on the 11th. Again, all the details are in the email. If you don't want to do a tape measure Yagi, bring your own antenna, whether it be homebrew or store-bought, and we're going to split the fox hunt into basically 2 categories. Tape measure Yagi and then other antennas. But afterwards, we're going to do a cookout and just come out. It'd be a lot of fun. And as far as the tape measure Yagi goes, there was a handful of people that registered but said they could not be at the build, but they wanted those supplies. Come see me. I have your supplies for you if you registered for it. And yeah, that's it. Just watch for emails for just additional information for the November 11th Fox Hunt.
All right. Excellent. Appreciate it. And a lot of that information just came out, I think, earlier this morning. So we didn't get a chance to get it into the newsletter. Speaking of which, I'm trying to get to it. I just want to make sure that club members, you get in the email in reference to the newsletter. If you don't get it, the newsletter is posted usually right before I send it out on email to the website. If you go to oarc.org, and I think it's under Club Tech, you'll say a little link there for newsletters. All the past issues of the newsletter up through 2016 is about all we could find. Between computer crashes and all that stuff there, that's all we could find amongst the board members and stuff. But and all the more current ones are there, so you can always download it and read it there also. It's there. So I want to bring that up real quick. And then the last thing I want to mention real quick, I don't know how many of you guys follow these two things going on in with the ARRL right now, but the deadline for the 60-meter comments has been extended through November the 28th. And I think the FCC at some point here soon is supposed to be doing the vote on removing symbol rate restrictions for you guys to do digital. So watch for information on those things coming up soon. Okay. I think, all right, Michael has said it. We had one more thing on Hamcation. We'll do our break afterwards.
All right, real quick. I forgot to mention, I am in desperate need of one more chairman. I need a talk-in chairman that will take care of the talk-in station, setting it up, organizing the volunteers for it. This position is mainly done. All your work is during Hamcation. There's really very little pre-work other than just scheduling volunteers. So the station would need to be set up at Hamcation by Wednesday and on the air by Wednesday for your RVers and stuff that starts coming in Wednesday. And then it will run until Sunday when the show closes during show hours, of course, or a couple hours prior to show. To talk to people coming in, give them directions, stuff like that, especially if we have any type of parking issues at Hamcation, you would relay it to them. If certain parking lots are closed, if we have to have a certain entrance for them to come in. So basically, you'll be helping run a net. It's an informal net, taking calls on 146.76 repeater. So please, if you're interested in this, please see me. I do need somebody for this. You will be positioned in the security trailer with security also, so you'll be right there with them, and they can help you with parking details, stuff like that, stuff that they need to relay to you to give out to people also. You'll be there with them. That's it. Correct. And also to let you know, for volunteers, your volunteers don't have to always be at Hamcation. They can actually run the special or the talk-in stations from home as a volunteer. The one at there needs to be manned the whole time also, but you can actually have your volunteers, or volunteers can actually work from home also for the talk-in.
All right. Any questions real quick? All right, we're going to come back. Let's do our break. Let's come back at 8:15, and Ed will introduce Mike Walker. Mike has done a presentation for us before, and he's going to do one on Flex Radio technology tonight. So 8:15, about 10 minutes, guys. Paging Todd and Bill. James is looking for you, Todd and Bill. Thank you. Back to your regular programming. All right, guys, we're going to get ready to get started here. It's 8:15 by my watch. Well, Ed gets his paperwork ready, or his get your paperwork. Okay, real quick, I want to talk real quick about the prizes. Tonight's door prizes. Since I didn't do that at the beginning, did everybody get a blue ticket when they walked through the door? If you did not get a blue ticket, make sure you see the man that's not there behind the briefcase. You know, the invisible guy. He'll be more than happy to get you a blue ticket. All right. All right. There's 3 door prizes tonight. There's mystery bag number 1. All right. Mystery bag number 2 that you can't see. And mystery bag number 3 that you can't see. No. First one is ICOM swag bag. There's all types of ICOM swag. Sorry, Michael. A whole bunch of ICOM swags materials or items in this bag here. So that's a choice. The other 2 are going to be HRO gift certificates, $25 a piece. You know, make sure we have your name, your call sign, and your email address before you leave here tonight. So when I get home, I can sit there and get that sent to you. So that way by tomorrow morning, you should have it in your email, because I will send you the certificate myself once I get it from HRO right away, once I take care of it online. So if you have those, and of course, with Hamcation coming around, $25 off of something at HRO, you know, when they have good deals, you know, might be helpful, you know, to pick up something, you know, especially something you need. One other real quick comment about Hamcation preparedness. Think about what you might need for preparing for the upcoming storm season, including hurricane season, that you might want to pick up while you're at Hamcation. Connectors, right? All those little gadgets that you might have to get and stock up on, because everybody needs PL259s and end connectors and adapters and extra coax links and stuff like that there. It's a good time to purchase it, because a lot of that stuff is lower cost or on special at Hamcation. Okay, so it's a good time to start creating your list. Mr. Ed.
Good evening. And I want to say thanks to Mike for offering to make this presentation to us tonight. Mike Walker, VA3 WN, was licensed in 1974 and has always loved technology. His first real job with IBM was working with an actual tube computer with 64,000 tubes in NORAD, and it was 600 feet underground at the height of the Cold War. It was from repeaters, HF contesting, satellites, and is currently tinkering in EME digital modes and 10 gigahertz microwave. As well as being a GA pilot, he loves HF station integration, remote HF operation, and currently represents Flex Radio Systems with a marketing and education team. He is very well versed in Flex Radio technology, and technology is truly his hobby. He'll spend some time with us tonight showing how today's HF radio is not only better than yesterday's Superhet radio, but you get more performance for your dollar. He'll show you how your radio now scales toward the future and does not grow old the day you bought it. Thank you again, Mike, for wanting to share this information with us. We appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me. And hopefully my voice will hold it. I'm still recovering from CQ Worldwide. I was fortunate to be at a, let's call it a super station. I don't know if you have any, I can see everybody. So how many HF operators do we have there? Great. So anyway, we did about 6,500 contacts in 48 hours, and it's amazing how much it, as I get older, how much it wipes me out. But anyway, I had a great time. Was at V3 Echo Japan, and what a great host. And even though not everybody's into contesting, it's still a great way to grab some cues. Anyway, I don't need the chat window. You guys can see my screen? Great. And I'm going to stop that because I forgot to do something, because there's video, so we'll have to get back and share and add the audio component. Share sound, optimize that. Here we go. And we're back. And I'll bring this over here. So I can generally see you guys. If you have a question, Just hold up your hand. This will take less than an hour. There's only 942 slides, but I go through them pretty quickly. And no, that's a classic old joke. And so let's get going. A long time ago in a galaxy far away, I guess this is what maybe your dad's ham shack might have looked like. Hopefully none of you guys. And I thought this was a great picture. Then I realized it was fake. There's no cables around behind the picture. But anyway, and then, maybe he got a little carried away and it started to look like this. And you know what? You can pretty much replace all of that today with something that looks like this. And you don't even have to have the radio on the desk, or you can put the actual radio or the RF deck under the desk. You could put it, well, up here we call it the furnace room. I'm in Toronto, but you could put it in the garage. You could put it at the base of the tower, in a weatherproof box. And by the way, running cat cable to a radio is a lot cheaper than running coax cable. And you know what? You get more RF out of the radio and more RF into the radio, so you get some performance. And this is, I've forgotten whose shack this is. I think I know who it is. It's a customer of ours, obviously, but this is his contest station. And it's almost XYL approved. You can see he's got a mic and he's got a knob, a big VFO knob. We call them the flex control. And I know he's got a CW key hooked up there somewhere and a foot switch and everything. So, but if you're truly a knob guy, you can actually take one of these things. We call it a Maestro. And it connects to the radio over, if I say LAN, everybody understands what I mean, LAN or Ethernet. Here, the LAN in the ham shack that we all have today. And this is incredibly well designed, just because it's got the minimal number of knobs. Now, for UHF operators, I'm sure all of you have seen something like an FTDX, Yaesu's FTDX 3000 or the 5000. And you guys can shout this out. How many buttons and knobs do you think there are in the front of an FTDX 5000? And I'll tell you what, I'll make it easy. Less than 30. Put your hand up if you think it's less than 30. Between 30 and 50. Between 50 and 75. Okay, between 75 and 100. More than 100. No, this is okay. Well, only 3 people put up their hand. So believe it or not, I think, and I counted 4 times and twice got the same answer. It's about 118 buttons and knobs, most of them with multiple levels of shift printed in 4-point font that you usually have to get the flashlight out or your phone and turn the light on and the magnifying glass going. Yeah, that's the one, the bandwidth control. That's the one I want. This is actually complete radio that we have called it's an M model. It's a 100-watt HF radio. It's the type of radio you can take to field day. It doesn't need, there's sort of these old stories hanging around that the radio has to be hooked up to the internet to work, which isn't true. You hook up 12 volts, you hook up an antenna, stick in a microphone, pair of headphones, and a key, and you're on the air, start logging. And it's even easy to hook up a computer to it if you wanted computer cat control. So what's different? Well, every other radio made today uses a technology, well, not every other radio, the ICOM 7600, 7300, and the LCRAFT K4, and then some of the other software-defined radios. All of those use mixing, called super heterodyne technology. That super heterodyne technology was designed over 100 years ago, 1918 to be exact. And I know some of you think that wasn't that long ago because it's sort of, our brain is still stuck at 25, but it is quite a while ago. And while it works really well, when you mix 2 radio signals together, you actually get a fair bit of noise. And this is the difference between an inexpensive super heterodyne radio and an expensive super heterodyne radio. It's how much time and effort went into the engineering and manufacturing of a better super het radio. So your buddy that might have had an ICOM 7000 that weighed 67 pounds, why was it so big? When you can pick up, ICOM had let's say a 706 type of thing. What was the difference? Well, there were huge differences. And a lot of the extra technology was in there was to manage the noise and get it reduced. And we know those today as IMD products. And how do you get rid of the intermodulation distortion? And if anybody ever follows Rob Sherwood's list, Where does the radio sit on that list? In the software-defined world, generally, and certainly ours, we direct sample. And what that means is we bring the RF right in from the antenna. It goes right to the A to D converter. That's the analog to digital converter, where we put it into numbers so that we can deal with it. Well, we don't really care, but it's dealt with by a computer. And we do that at 16 bits. And I have a test question. All of you have to answer. You can put up your hand. How many of you in the room actually own an SDR transceiver? Okay, this is a trick question though. So the rest of you that didn't put up your hand, you know what? Did you realize your cell phone's a software-defined transceiver? That's why it's now so small. Okay, yeah, I can hear the eyes rolling. That's all right. And the advantage of what we do in the software-defined technology is every time I say we, I mean Flex Radio. We sample and digitize the entire HF radio spectrum from 30 kilohertz to 54 megahertz. And this gives you the advantage of creating different, let's say VFOs, but receivers, anywhere within that spectrum at any given time. Other software-defined radios won't let you do that. So I could take any one of our radios, and I could have it, I usually say on AM radio, listening to a baseball game, while I've got another receiver, and we call those slices, because they're a slice of the radio spectrum, another slice up on 6 meters. And they may be on the same antenna because the AM signal is strong enough. There's a few more tricky things here, or advanced features here. And software-defined is, it's just a manufacturing technology. When radio started, or electronics started, we had spark gap radios, and then we had tubes, and then we got into semiconductors and integrated circuits, and we're seeing obviously less tubes, but less and less and less of that, and more integrated circuits, and now cool things called field programmable gate arrays, which is part of the internal computer that makes this stuff happen so fast and so well. And so that's what SDR means. So even though we're starting to use the term like the term Band-Aid, we don't always buy Band-Aids, but SDR is sort of that technology. One of the things that it allows us to do is something called controlled envelope single sideband. Now for you HF operators, this really means that we can improve the power in the sideband envelope. And the end result is we're actually getting about 3 dB or more RF power out the antenna. Are we really giving you more? Well, not really. It's just that everybody else is giving you 3D less. And I'm going to share this presentation. There's a video in here that you can go look at. There's articles in QEX. And the video is of the designer, Dave Hirschberger, explaining how it works. It's a little in depth, but essentially, if this was a sideband signal, you'll see that, and there was a person talking, that we're driving the top of the power bands here to 1 or 100%. In a non-controlled envelope single sideband environment, what happens is you overshoot, you go beyond 100%, and in order to prevent distortion being transmitted, the radio by design reduces its power almost immediately. And that's sort of a feedback loop. So, if you could perfectly drive a typical radio to 100% envelope modulation, then you wouldn't need this, but we can't because we speak louder and we speak quieter, and this is what drives the RF section in today's current radio to actually be less. And the only 3 radios that have this built into it, Dave wrote it, the algorithms, we enhanced it, as in Flex. Elecraft uses it in their K4, it's a compressor, and Anon uses it in their radios. Now, direct sampling, I mentioned that already, but we now, as I said, we sample the entire HF radio spectrum. It's actually less features or less complexity to build a radio like this. So that means we can make a better performing radio, and I mean significantly better performing radio for less money because it's got less parts in it, and we have better quality control. And because the hard work is done in this thing called the field programmable gate array, if we ever came out with new modes, Well, we just have to write a little software program to handle that new demodulation and modulation. And you know what? These radios are quieter. Now, I did use a K4 on the weekend. It didn't set up the same way the Flex did, so I found it a little noisier. But in how we handle the gain of the receiver, makes it quieter, and we're not necessarily listening to as many ugly static crashes. And I know ham operators in Florida know all about static crashes, and I might have a video to play that hear the difference. But using a Flex and their rapid automatic gain control, you never hear that part. And you've been on the low bands, right? When there's a nearby lightning strike or within a few hundred miles and the S meter goes to full scale and you have to wait for it to decay. And then you end up saying, sorry, what'd you say? The static crash took you out. Now, I did mention the spectral capture unit. And the spectral capture unit is the part where we have this thing called the A to D converter. And it converts us into digital from analog so that we can do something with it. I rattled off all these numbers to you a few minutes ago, but radios either have one spectral capture unit or two. And guess what? With two, they're a little more expensive. But one means you can use one antenna coming into the radio at a given time. Now, it's a wideband antenna or like a multi-band antenna like an HF6V or even a G5RB. You can actually be, and I'm doing this finger quoting, operating on two different bands on the same time with the least expensive radio that's available from Flex Radio, including rewinding all the way back to the Flex 6300, which was initially shipped back in 2011 or 12. And if you were to ever buy one of those used, you can, for $199, update the software in it, and it meets all the feature functionality of a brand new radio you would buy today. And I can't think of any other HF radio that I've ever bought or seen that, 10 years later would still be current. Now, case in point, I have an ICOM 7100. I bought it about 10 years ago. You can still buy the 7100 today from ICOM, from HRO, but guess what? It's still stuck on the day it was manufactured 10 or 12 years ago, whenever it came out. So one or two spectral capture units. Well, when people call us and say, do I need the 6400, which has one, or the 6600, which has two, which one should I buy? And we always talk to them about their operating and their antenna system. But if you're a new ham and you've just got up a couple of antennas, or you're trying to use an end-fed half wave and get on the air, then the single spectral capture radio is for you. It's ideal for small urban environments and beautiful contesting radio, by the way, or DXing, and even better at digital for FT8 type of thing. It's got great transverter support if you wanted to get on VHF, UHF, or even microwave. And like I said, if you can go all the way back to the 6300, which has one spectral capture unit and have some and great performance. Let's go back to this picture. If you look at the top here, you see that it says antenna 1, antenna 1, antenna 1, antenna 1 across the top. These two top half here where I'm circling my mouse is a slice, and this bottom one's a slice. You've got, this one's called A, this one's called B. This vertical bar right here is where we're listening. That's the width of a sideband signal. Same thing up here. These horizontal lines, by the way, are noise. In this case, they're static crashes or lightning. And blue is the background noise, and yellow is radio energy. We're seeing, though, that because I'm using a multi-band antenna here, I've actually got one slice on 20 meters and another slice on 40. And on some radios that have main and sub receivers, you may be on 20 meters on the main receiver, and you might only be able to listen to a few hundred kilohertz either way, or if it's a little broader range, only frequencies below you, because the low pass filter at the antenna end gets in the way. We get around that by actually turning it off while you're receiving. And that's why it says wide here. If you were to go to a radio that's got two spectral capture units like this one, you'll notice we have antenna 1, antenna 1. This is receive antenna and transmit antenna. And then over here we have antenna 2 and antenna 2. Blue for receive, red for transmit. Same sort of story again, 20 and 40 meters. And this gives you the ability to further leverage your antenna system if you have that type of antenna system. If you've got more than 2 antennas, you really want it carried away. We have this cool switch from a company called 403A in Montenegro, and it allows you to stack this up to 8 antennas that can be shared in any combination. And there's a whole lot of different combinations, but this is the basic part. You could actually share that across 2 different radios if you wanted, quite easily. And in this case, you can see 20 meters and 40 meters. One's on my stepper and one's on my 40-meter beam. Okay, it's not really a beam, it's a wire beam, but still a beam aimed at Europe. This is the classic, the comparison chart. But I have the model numbers in the top. We won't spend any time here because I'm going to share this with you. But you'll see some radios have 1 spectral capture unit. The orange has 2. How many receiver slices? 2, 4, or 8. You can go up to 8 in the 6700. And they have built-in bandpass filters. And you know where that's really powerful? Not only for contesting, but for field day. And so you don't have to buy a radio and buy external bandpass filters for field day. The only radio of the entire 6000 series that does not have bandpass filters is the Flex 6300, but the 65 and 67 and then the 66 and 64 do. And transverter port, etc., etc. I added this slide for the geeks if you really want to see how fancy the antenna switching path is between the antennas and the DAC, the digital audio converters. And the other way, which is for modulation, you'll see that there's a bunch of things that go on. Steve Hicks, who is our Chief Technical Officer, M5AC, explained the software behind managing this and making it easy for us to use. There's over 10,000 lines of code, just so we didn't have to think hard about it. Alrighty. And you can do the same thing on the Maestro. We have 2 slices here. I took this with a camera just so you'd see the whole picture. But we have 2 bands, 2 antennas. If it was a 1 spectral capture unit radio, then of course these would only say 1, etc. Very logically laid out, by the way. We got volume. We got what's called AGCT. It's like an RF gain on the outside here. You can set your filter widths, whether they're wide or narrow. If you had a second slice, those knobs here, I'm sure you can figure out what the big knob here is and the little one for your main VFO and your secondary VFO and etc. Now there's a lot of other menus and I'll show you those in a minute for the stuff we don't use as often, but the committee sat down and said, if we were to build a control panel and make it simple and easy to read for old people like us, this is what it looks like. This is actually a pretty big display. This unit's about this big. That display is 8 inches across. Most people use 7-inch display or 3-inch displays. We made this as big as we could. And if you're a Flex customer waiting for a Maestro, the display, the 8-inch display, was part of the problem and delay. Was trying to quantify a new display due to part shortages. And then you can make, you've got these receiver buttons. You change your transmit focus by just pushing over here. That becomes red, and now we're transmitting on the next slide. Alrighty, I'm doing 2 things at once. There we go. And a different layout. We're looking at the same thing. This is on a computer desktop. Now this is nice because if you like computer screens, you can spread this out over an ultra-wide screen and you're not looking for any features or functions. They're all called the same thing. If you sit down at another radio in front of field day, you want the volume control, you probably want the RF gain, you probably want some bandwidth or band changings. Well, guess what? All those buttons still look the same. And here's just a quick tour of what happens under the covers. And it gives me a chance to have a drink, and I self-narrate this. We're looking at the front panel of a Maestro or an M model Flex radio. And I just want to share a few things here that we can walk through. Right now we're set up with a single receiver on a single frequency. There's a couple of ways we can bring up a second receiver. On the Maestro, I'm pushing the other RX button, and it's going to bring up a second slice about 5 kilohertz up. And if I unclick the green receive button, it goes away. We also have the ability by touching down here at the bottom with your finger, it opens up a whole second pan adapter and a fair bit of flexibility that way as well. And with a 2 spectral capture unit radio, you can actually have this on 2 different bands. But we can see that, we've got a different filter here at 2.9 kilohertz, 2.7. AGCs can be different. We can adjust the AGCT, and you'll see the values change. And it's just very simple to use. The real reason I want to do this is because of the menu. If we bring up the menu, and I'm just going to quickly pop through some of the choices here, but incredibly well laid out. This tells you about the Maestro itself, the versions, a number of things. I have a GPSDO installed in here for better frequency stability. I can program my function keys. I don't actually have anything programmed at the moment, but there's a number of things. Network information, because everything's LAN based. Well, this is certainly important, but again, all in one place. There's not a really complicated menu system. We have the ability to look at turn our speakers on and off, our balance, and the receive EQ. By the way, very powerful tool, the receive EQ. If you never used it, you may want to. Certainly, we have transmit EQ as well. Next thing is TX band settings, incredibly powerful tool where we have, in this case, 3 RCA connectors in the back for turning amplifiers or sequencers on and off. We can set our RF power, our tune power, and a number of other settings by band, where most radios you're limited by radio. We have complete microphone control, and we can work with pretty much any microphone if you just get the wires in the right place. Bias, no bias. You need some extra gain, it's here. Full transverter support. It's as simple as just adding a transverter frequency. You fill in these very simple numbers. It does a lot of the math. We have profile control. You've got your memories, which I don't have any. USB cable support is for controlling external devices from the back of the radio. And we can turn our spots on so they show up, multiflex, and some debug logging. So that's the power of the Flex Radio Maestro or the M model, and just touch and go. Nice big 8-inch display, really great resolution. Thanks for listening. Now, I said you the buttons look the same here. If you look around, you'll see things we recognize on any radio: how to change bands, how to change antennas, a bit of display stuff, and don't worry about the stuff you don't know, but or that looks strange, like DAX, which is used for digital modes. This is a Flex 6600, and if you're in my case, I was operating 160 meters, and I won't spend a lot of time on this slide, but it was Charlie Yankee 0 Sierra de-expedition to Sable Island, and I had diversity reception running here, where I had my main antenna in one ear and an active antenna in the other. Huge difference. The brain is an incredible digital signal processor for hearing signals, far better than any machine. Don't kid yourself. And, the bigger antenna is not always the better one. Sometimes the best signal to noise ratio is a smaller antenna. And then they were running up about 5. And then thanks to CW skimmers and stuff, we can see where people were calling him, and makes it very easy to work a de-expedition. I wanted to play another video. Now, this is a POTA station. Any POTA operators? Soda, well, not a lot of soda in Florida, but POTA. I guess you could have a soda in Florida. I don't know how high that would be, but I guess it's a good thing your mic is muted, because I'm sure somebody's yelling at me by now. But as I play this video, there's a POTA station right here, and you notice he seems a little weak. But one way to keep an eye on the S meter here, he's not very strong, and I'm going to just play with some filters, and you're going to see some of the power of some of the filtering and something called a tracking notch filter. So I've got a Parks on the Air station here right beside a guy that's splattering. Let's have a listen. We've a little hard to hear. He's weak. Okay, I'm going to narrow down my filter to 2.4. We're now not going to hear this guy splattering as much.
Have a good one. This is KA4KOE, Parks on the Air.
Now, watch what happens. I have a 2.1 kilohertz filter, and I'm going to add some receive EQ as he's talking. And of course we have some lightning or some static, but because we've elevated the receive EQ here, it makes it easier to listen to.
Thank you for Massachusetts. Have a good one.
One other trick we can do is we can add a tracking notch filter to this guy called a right here, which is a big ugly notch filter. Gonna make it very deep. Now that doesn't give us the result we necessarily want, so we can move it over a bit and get rid of some of his, and use that to help notch out some of that guy's signal above. And the nice thing about a tracking notch filter is if I move my VFO, the notch filter does not move. Pretty cool. And that's some of the power of the filtering on a flex radio as well. We'll turn off the tracking notch filter.
Something for Big Brother.
So right at the end of that, my noise floor is about S3, S4. He was only S5, but he was crystal clear copyable. I don't know if it came across in the room, but anyway. We sort of talked about this already, and I have a hardware overview. Not to bore you here, you can go and watch on the different models and what to expect in different things. But they are all controlled by a product called Smart SDR, which is developed by Flex Radio, and Flex is all built out of Austin, Texas. There are clients that run on Mac by two different ham operators, one in Toronto, one in Germany, called Dog Park SDR for one, and Smart SDR for Mac by another developer, if you're a Mac user type of thing. And if you've got any satellite Mac guys, I'm sure you're using Dog Park's software for that. It runs in all different radios, and it's the interface if you're using any digital modes or logging. And we support and can work with pretty much any old computer software we have today, at least on Windows, because of the way we handle virtual ports and stuff. And here's another picture of some of the clients. Windows, Smart SDR for Windows, the Maestro you saw, the M model you saw, Smart SDR for iOS, Smart SDR for Mac, and Dog Park SDR. These are all actually hot links too, so you can follow up with that. Now I wanted to show the back of the Maestro because, you know, it's like buying a stereo. The first thing you look at a stereo for your home stereo is how many connections is on the back. So the same story here. Now this is the old Maestro. This is a model A or B, and there's a model C coming out next month. So I'm going to have to update this slide or show it a different one. But we have the ability to hook up a CW key directly, a foot switch, headphones, plug in a hand mic, powered speaker support. You can actually take this thing with you remotely, connect it to the internet somewhere else in the world, and connect directly to your radio. And the good news is you don't need to be a network guru to use any of those clients remotely, thanks to our tool called SmartLink. The setup's pretty straightforward. If it's a typical network installation, the radio is plugged into the network on a LAN cable, and then you can just connect to it with a PC or a laptop, even a laptop on Wi-Fi. We don't have Wi-Fi built in the radio by design, just because Wi-Fi is incredibly convenient, but it's incredibly fractional. It might look good in a speed test, but the minute you start doing real-time communications on it, you'll start to hear some of the flaws with it. And we may not notice that if we're watching Netflix or a movie, because we can buffer. Who cares if we buffer 30 seconds a movie? We do care a lot if you're doing some QSK CW and, you know, it gets buffered. It's just not going to work out so well. And then as well, because now the radio is plugged into your network, you can either have your headset foot switch plugged in like traditionally, like legacy, but you can actually, you know, plug a headset into a laptop. You can take your Wi-Fi, and now you can distribute all this all over your house, or use different computers to do different things. I'm on my PC right now, but but I could grab my MacBook, and maybe I want to run WSJT from my Mac. I could do that rather than, or my wife wants to watch a movie that I maybe not really want to watch. I could sit there and making DX contacts quietly using FT8. And we do that thanks to something called Digital Audio Exchange, or DAX. It just creates all the sound cards in the computer, and you don't have to go buy any hardware. You don't have to go by a signal link or something, because this is all built in now, and the phrase is the digital domain, but it's all part of the LAN and the ham shack. You may not be aware that you can actually have two users use the same radio at the same time. And how does that work? Well, remember I said earlier that we see the whole entire radio spectrum at once, so why not have another radio client connect to the radio? We call this multiflex, and we see more and more clubs doing this. We see more and more people as they move out of their regular house and they're moving into something. Oops.
We have some DX here on.
Quiet, Mike. Where were we? Right here, I think. Nope. I know where we are. We with multiflex, what happened was my hand hit the mouse. Or people moving into condos or whatever and don't have room for a ham shack anymore. So what they're doing is 3 or 4 or 5 of them get together and they build a remote ham shack at their friend's place. They all chip in, and they only have one venue to maintain, and then they just sort of coordinate when they want to operate. That's more and more of that happening as we're getting older. This is something called the wide noise blanker. It's just it reduces some pretty wicked power line noise. Remember I said that the horizontal green is bad and the vertical green is good? Well, look at this big green bar, and I'm sure some of you have heard this on HF before, and I'll just play how it sounds with and without.
WB2KAO here. Good morning, Barry.
Now, WB2KAO, we can barely hear. Let me turn the blanker back on.
Yeah, real good, Barry. Got off the bike, and I thought, well, let me check in with you here for a minute before I go up and get in the shower. We got quite a bit of fuel here.
Now, which would you rather listen to? Because I know some nights if you came down and turned that on, you'd probably just turn it right off. Skimmer interfacing. Any DXers dealt with CW skimmers? Hands up. Nobody? Any DXers that have tried to break a pile up on CW? Okay. Well, this is a little trick because with the help of some software, we're running split here. This 599, I can see where this guy just called VP6A and responded with 599. The software actually, the skimmer software, actually heard that and puts a mark on the screen. And this is important because this tells me where this guy is listening. And then, anybody really had a close look at their transmitted HF signal? I hope this was none of you guys, but it was a net control station somewhere in the southeast. And he's got I know what radio he's using, and he's overdriving it and splattering, and then he's feeding it through the associated amplifier, which isn't very clean, and it's making it really bad. And even though he's here in upper sideband, I bet if I was to put my radio in lower sideband and listen down here, I could probably understand what he is saying. And sadly, if you were to talk to, often when people are splattering this poorly or this badly, you say, hey, you're splattering, and they say, well, I always get great audio reports. Well, sure you will, because you're using up so much spectrum, you get more fidelity. But that's not always what we want to be as good ham operators. And here's an example of working a DXpedition split. And it's in CW, and I'll narrate my way through this.
We have some DX here on 15 meters, and this is 8 Quebec 7 Delta X-ray. I have my packet cluster spot there. We can see them calling, and we can see people answering now. The pile-up's thinned out a bit, but you can see it'd be easier for him to work because there's not many people calling him back. Now, granted, he's half a world away, and sometimes I can't hear everybody calling him, but I got him on the second call sheerly by watching him call and waiting for and seeing where people are answering them. So let's have a listen. And if we watch, we can see this guy's calling too often because he's doubling with them. Eventually he may hear him if 8 Quebec 7 Delta X-rays receiver is here, which is up about 1500 hertz.
Now we don't see the next guy replying, which is unfortunate, but you get the idea. If they reply, you'll see them. As an example, if someone replied, if this was the guy he was working, we could just double click our mouse and move over there and have a listen. And we could set this up in stereo so that we'd have the DXpedition on the left and maybe the masses on the right. So let's go back, see if he actually gets this guy. There you go. And if I was me, I would call right here because I know that's where his receiver is. That's the power of working a DXpedition using a waterfall. And again, you can play and watch that in your, at home if you like. So this is the static crash one. Now, when you record conversations off air, at least up here, I try not to get conversations on low band on 80 meters or 75 with people talking about their meds. That really then limits the amount of stuff you can record and find. This one's got a little bit different because it actually talks about a typical accident, but this is a pretty good lightning storm for us in the north. This is probably normal for Friday, for an afternoon in Florida, but you'll notice that we really never lose the conversation because of the way the fast attack automatic gain control works. See it? I'm about here. In fact, I'm right there. That little green dot is my lightning map receiver. And here's the storm right over Lake Huron coming into Georgian Bay. And you can see a bit of stuff going on here. So we'll get rid of that. So let's turn on the audio, and I want you to just listen to what we're hearing here. Okay. My AGCT for 80 meters, let's see, is way too high. Let me turn off my audio. Or we'll turn this down. If I adjust my AGCT just down, you'll notice it gets really quiet. But you go, I'm not going to be able to hear anything. Let me turn this. No, I'm going to turn this level up to a normal level. And we hear that click. And that's the Fast Attacks Dual AGC. Click on, click off. I'm at medium, by the way, not at fast, not at slow. So how does that translate if you want to listen to a couple of guys? There's a net here on 3755.
1718. Anyway, the one went into the silo, died from the gas. The other one went into, seen his brother floundering there, went in and he died too.
So you'll notice we can hear, that's my buddy Chad, speaking, just rag chewing about whatever. And plain as day, sort of like the winter on a quiet day. Yeah, it's not perfect, but man, it's easy to listen to.
Similar story. Silos are nothing to mess with. Matter of fact, a lot of people put signs on the doors, especially up high, not to get in there. And that's a shame. Thanks for sharing that with everyone. It's VE2HOG, and he's a farmer, so he knows what's going on. This is the ONTARS net. Anybody like to check in before I have to check?
And generally on a super hat radio, you would have every static crash kill the receiver. For remote operating, and that remote operating is now incredibly mainstream. You do not need to be a network guru to set any of this up. It's plug and play. Most home networks just work like that, and the only time they get complicated is if you have a complicated home network. So it's a username, password, login, and then it's a peer-to-peer connection, meaning from the operator to the radio is the fastest connection possible. I operate 100% HF remote to my whole HF station 100 miles away, and my latency is around 30 to 35 milliseconds, and which is pretty typical today. And in fact, remote's becoming so mainstream that VP6A, or George Wallner's team, Alpha Alpha 7 Juliet Victor, are now built this little lunar rover type of vehicle. I keep forgetting its name, but they drop that on an island, and then they activate the island because the transmitter and the receiver are on the island. And then they actually have an RF link back to this nice boat. And George says, you know what? My operators operate so much better when they're cool and they're fed and they get to have a shower and there's running water and a real toilet, etc. And the entities that manage these little countries are much happier because there's a lot less human impact to the island. So normally if you were to park a full D expedition here, you'd have 6 or 10 guys, 6 or 7 tents. You'd have to worry about latrines and et cetera, et cetera. So this is just a lot easier. I don't know if any SO2R operator, single operator 2 radio, these are the contest guys that are really bored. So they just made it more complicated, and it means you double everything. And so you would take something that looks like this with 2 radios and 2 amplifiers and a lot of bandpass filters and everything. And then I'm just going to skip over this. I can go back to it if you like some more detail about it. But in the Flex world, it actually looks like this. You could have a single radio. You could actually have 2 radios here for 2 operators, an amplifier that handles both operators at the same time and has the ability to be able to transmit and listen through on a different RF path. Same for the tuner. And then I mentioned the antenna switch earlier, the 2x8 antenna switch, which allows you to control up to 8 antennas. And why do I need 8 antennas? Well, you know, I started with one of these antenna switches and it just hates having empty antenna ports. I'm up to 7. Just added the last one last week. Flex Radio has the Power Genius amplifier and the Tuner Genius that goes with it. Typical amplifier does up to 2 kilowatts or 15 dB gain, 1500 watts in the US. One of the things it does to make it an incredibly clean amplifier is something called a harmonic dummy load, where generally we've got harmonics to deal with in any HF amplifier. And in every other amplifier, those harmonics are stuck in the amplifier and they're reflected and they get into the power amplifier, and that causes additional IMD or additional distortion. But in a Power Genius, we actually capture those second harmonics and without letting them reflect back into the amplifier, we actually send them over to a dummy load in the radio. Now, it can't be much power, can you? Well, I'll tell you what, it's a 400 watt dummy load in this radio and it does get hot. So there's a fair bit of lost energy. And that it mates fairly well with the Tuner Genius, which is a high-speed, full-power, either 2 antennas or a 1x3, which means 1 radio, 3 antenna setup. Both of these can be used remotely. They have a really nice GUI, and they actually have, both of them have full support for OEM radios. So you don't have to use a Flex Radio exciter or transmitter on it. And essentially it looks like this. You start with an OEM radio and you connect to it by CIV or RS-232 type of thing into the amplifier, and then the amplifier shares band information with things like your tuner over your LAN and or your Antenna Genius over the LAN, which makes it really interfaces well to other OEM radios. And this is new. This has only just come out in the last few months, and it works really well. What do we got here? And then this is a demonstration of the amplifier and how it functions. And I'm going to load up some non-resonant antennas and then run almost full power through them. So let's have a look at how the Power Genius, the Tuner Genius, the Antenna Genius, and the Flex Radio ecosystem all play together really quickly. We're in bypass. We have the tuner in bypass, which makes us a really good display of wattage and SWR. Or you could be looking at the front panel of the tuner, but this makes a better demonstration. When we hit tune, we'll see we have a 7.7 to 1 SWR. Now, that's not really good. So we'll take the tuner out of bypass, put it into operate, and I'm going to hit tune. And you'll see that the tuner does its magic, and eventually we're going to come up with a really nice SWR. We can set the minimum. I think I have it at 1.4 or 1.5. That's good enough. For me, I'm not that fussed about SWR. I don't, it doesn't have to be 1.0 to me. And now if we put the radio into tune, we'll see we have 1.7 to here and pretty much about the same thing here on the radio. That's great. Now, would you operate 2 kilowatts or a whole lot of power into that? Well, I will. We'll just put the tune up on the amplifier to 20 watts and hit tune, and you'll see that there's 800 watts through the tuner quite nicely. Now the cool thing is it remembers what antenna I am on and what the tune solution is. So let's flip over to my 40 meter inverted V. Now it's also not a 60 meter antenna. We'll go back into bypass. We're going to hit tune, and that's what happens when you do it with the amplifier on. So we'll hit tune again just to show you the protection. We have a 5-to-1 SWR. The amplifier took care of itself. It will trip in 10 microseconds. That was actually part of my demo. We're going to hit tune. We're going to put, again, we'll hit tune here on the tuner. And now we have a great match on 40 meters. And the key point is here, watch what happens here when I flip antennas. I'm going to go back to the 60. You'll see it pulled in a new solution, 64, 9, and 0, or 40, and went back to the other one. I can bring the amplifier back online, and amplifier's all ready, and we'll just send it a quick carrier, and we'll see 800 watts into a 1.0 to 1 SWR. So that's all great. And we'll turn the amplifier back off. And we're going to go back to the 60. One more test here. Here's a cool thing we can do. We can put it all into tune again. We've got 1.14 to 1. If you think you can do better, you can actually take your mouse or play with the front knobs on the tuner and dial in a little better SWR if that's important to you. So that's the beautiful integration of the Tuner Genius, the Power Genius, the Antenna Genius, and the Flex ecosystem, and a great example of how the amplifier protects itself. And lastly, if you're interested in learning more, you can actually reach out to us directly. We actually take phone calls. We talk to people. We have some great groups in the Flex Radio community, which are all the forums are. And we have Elmers that help out there. We're on Facebook, where we have more Elmers and a few more trolls, and a lot of videos for training. And one of the sales line here is, so we take trade-ins on pretty much anything. We have a trading partner with Main Trading out of Paris, Texas. And radios come with a 2-year warranty, upgradable to a 4-year warranty for a price. And everything's done in Austin, including repairs, and actually a paid help desk. So we have staff that actually work on a help desk that are, our Flex staff members. They know the product better than anybody in the world, and they've seen pretty much every problem available. So that's sort of the extra value add in the Flex radio world. So that's how you get hold of me. And if you're ever thinking of purchasing a Flex radio, there's a super secret phrase you have to say. If you talk to Andy or me and say, hey, I was at a club meeting and Mike did a presentation, what sort of special can you do for me? And we always have some sort of, special that is sort of equivalent to a Hamfest, like we would do at Orlando or at Hamcation, etc. So you can always take advantage of that. So I'm at the point where I am open for questions.
Anybody have any questions? I think it's on. Yeah. Yes, this is George here in Orlando. You mentioned that you could use it in a transverter form. Are you still restricted to the ham bands there's use, or is the radio open to all frequencies?
Very excellent question. So the transverter port outputs 10 dBm from about 1 megahertz to 54 megahertz. So it's not locked down at all. So if you had a transverter that needed 6 megahertz or 10 megahertz of bandwidth to operate correctly, we handle it seamlessly. Whereas before, like you would use 10 megahertz as or 10 meters as an IF, right? Well, that's only 2 megahertz of bandwidth out of that as a transfer IF port. But since Steve Hicks M5AC is also a microwave guy, we came a way around that. So you're not restricted at all. Good question.
Oh, very good. You answered 2 questions that I had. The other one is, when you're using it as a transverter, can you transpose the frequency of the transverter to display at HF?
It was probably the only slide I skipped over, but let me just share it with you. So here's an example of me using a 6600 on an AMSAT satellite, and have a listen, and you'll see that, you can see up here that we're seeing the frequencies, and this is just fun. It runs for about 30 seconds.
And, I guess it's something you need to do, but boy, you hate to do it. Oh, there goes that new radio, Peter.
Probably about 5, 6 of them, Jeff, over. Yeah, roger that. And I was just thinking I'm doing a lot of part-time work, and I'm thinking maybe I could afford that 7,300. But with the roof coming, no, not this year. Okay. I'm surprised you don't have one already. I've got an old IC7410 that I really like, and I've got a 99180 here, and that's just super affordable.
So, sort of answer your question about, and that uses SAP PC32 to control everything. But yes, it's well thought out in the transverter world. By far the best transverter radio available.
I only have one more. Don't want to dominate it here. How do you discipline the local? Is it through 10 megahertz, or is it strictly internal?
There's 3 ways. There's an internal OCXO that's pretty stable. You can feed it a 10 megahertz reference when it's constantly updating, which is significantly better than what ICOM did with the 9700, which doesn't work like you think it would. Or we do actually sell a GPS DO that installs in the radio and gives you an amazing resolution and accuracy. I've used it for the frequency test, and without any effort, just using audio, I have no problem getting less than 1 hertz every time I do it, just by measuring 1 kilohertz offset type of thing. But so 3 methods. So 10 megahertz works fine. You get more accuracy by installing the GPS DO, but 10 is accurate for most people.
Thank you very much. And thank you for looking forward to people using transverters.
Any other questions?
Yeah, once you get the band playing, you see the waterfall. People hate giving it up because you can see 8 megahertz wide at a time. Any other questions? And congratulations to the new techs. I'm sure this was a bit overwhelming, but hopefully you grabbed a few things out of it.
Will we see you in Hamcation this year or coming year?
Sure thing.
Excellent.
Yep. Heck, I'm in Canada. Of course I'm coming to Florida in January. I mean, then we're all my friends are down there anyway, so there's no shortage of Ontario license plates at that time of the year.
We appreciate you taking the time to be with us this evening.
No, well, thank you, and I'll email you the presentation in the morning. I only saw 2 people fall asleep, so I guess it was okay.
Definitely a plus. Thanks again, Mike. All right.
7-3, everybody.
Real quick, I just want to remind everybody that we got 2 prizes are going to be gift certificates. So if you win one of the gift certificates, please make sure you come up and write your name, call sign, and your email address down. And as a reminder, we won't be here next month. No meeting. We come back January the 3rd. And our presenter will be Mal Granick, KS2G for contestings for newcomers and non-contesters. All right. So to save a little bit of time, I went ahead and draw 3 tickets out. So that way we can wrap it up fairly quickly here. First one, last 4 digits, 7165. Second one is 7153. And the last one is 7149. Gift certificate, come on over here. There we go. Ladies' night. Gift certificate or ICOM? Okay. And which ones you guys got? 765, 49. Oops. Yeah. 49. And 153. 153? All right. Last one was this one. They already got the gift certificates. The ladies took the gift certificates for night. It's all ICOM gear. So, all right, guys, we appreciate it very much. Drive safely. Happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you at the Christmas party.